Elon Musk is developing a vehicle that could be a game changer for space travel. Starship, as it's known, will be a fully reusable transport system capable of carrying up to 100 people to the Red Planet. The founding ethos of Elon Musk's private spaceflight company SpaceX was to make life multi-planetary. This is partly motivated by existential threats such as an asteroid strike big enough to wipe out humanity. Settling on other planets would place some of the eggs in other baskets, sparing human civilization if one of them were to experience a cataclysm. Starship is a rocket and spacecraft combination that could ferry more than 100 people at a time to the Red Planet. The system is designed to be fully reusable, meaning the principal hardware elements are not discarded in the sea or allowed to burn up, as happens with other launch systems, but are instead recovered from space. They can be refurbished and flown again, reducing the cost of the whole enterprise. Starship, an overview. At launch, the spacecraft called Starship will sit atop a rocket called Super Heavy. The combined system will stand 120 meters or 394 feet tall and is also referred to as Starship. Let's take a look at the spacecraft first. With its nose cone and landing fins, the stainless steel vehicle resembles the rocket ships from the golden age of science fiction. At the rear of the 50-meter or 160-foot long craft are 6 highly efficient Raptor engines developed over a decade by SpaceX. The combustion takes place in stages, and the engine's design cuts the amount of propellant that's wasted. Toward the middle of the vehicle are the propellant tanks. These feed liquid methane and liquid oxygen to the Raptors. Methane is the fuel, and oxygen acts as an oxidizer, a chemical that makes the fuel burn. The combination is dubbed methalox. The choice of fuel is unusual for rocket engines, but methane can generate plenty of thrust. It's also a prudent choice in the light of Musk's designs on Mars. Refueling Starship for the return trip to Earth using Martian resources would confer a level of self-sufficiency, making journeys both more feasible and cost-effective. Now let's turn to the rocket. Measuring 70 meters or 230 feet long, Super Heavy will be filled with 3,400 tons of cryogenic methalox. It will be powered by around 32 Raptor engines, although this specification has changed several times and should achieve more than 70 meganewtons of maximum thrust. It should be able to lift at least 100 tons of payload and possibly as much as 150 tons to low Earth orbit. This will make Super Heavy more powerful than the immense Saturn V launcher used for the Apollo moon missions in the 60s and 70s. Elon Musk wants to send the Starship to Mars, and this is feasible in the foreseeable future. But what about other planets like Jupiter, Saturn, or even beyond that? The answer to this question can be found on rocket science. The first important thing to note is that the Starship is heavy. Despite being completely empty, it weighs about 120 tons, and this is called the Starship's dry mass. SpaceX is going full steam ahead with the Big Falcon rocket, BFR. Musk thinks that the booster part, currently called Super Heavy, will be the easier part. Therefore, SpaceX is currently focusing on the upper stage, currently called Starship, and before that Big Falcon spaceship, or BFS. All rockets capable of reaching Earth's orbit with useful payload are built with at least 2 stages, sometimes more. This is due to the rocket equation. Dumping the dead weight of an empty first stage allows for more efficient use of energy. Super Heavy Starship, or BFR, is also built with 2 stages. The first stage is called Super Heavy, and the second stage is called Starship, or BFS. An interesting aspect of the Starship is that it will be able to fly without the Super Heavy. That will allow it to return from other planets and moons back to Earth. It will also be capable of a single-stage orbit launch from the Earth without any useful payload. The capability is intended to be used for testing of entering planets' atmospheres from superorbital velocities like Mars-Moon transfer velocities. According to Musk, certain heating parameters scale to the 8th power about speed. Launch and refilling. As it ascends from the launch pad, the combined Starship system will begin to pitch over towards the intended orbit. When the upper stage separates in space, Super Heavy flips over while falling back towards Earth. As it descends, Super Heavy will deploy steel structures called grid fins, shaped a bit like potato waffles, from the sides of the booster. These will help steer the rocket stage back towards its launch pad so it can be flown again. Previously, SpaceX had wanted to ignite Super Heavy's Raptor engines to guide it down to a precision landing on 6 steel legs. SpaceX does something similar with its first stage of its Falcon 9 rockets, landing them safely on landing pads and drone ships after a launch. A default tanker Starship would be launched from Earth and bring 175 tons of propellant into space. To refuel, the spacecraft would dock or mate with another Starship already circling the Earth that acts solely as a propellant depot. The 2 ships would mate at the rear section. They would use the same mating interface that they used to connect to the booster on liftoff, Musk said in 2017. To transfer propellant would become very simple. You use control thrusters to accelerate in the direction that you want to empty. The Starship upper stage could be inserted into a parking orbit after separation, allowing it to be refilled with propellant. If you fly the Starship to orbit and don't do any refilling, it's pretty good, as you'll get 150 tons to low Earth orbit and have no fuel to go anywhere else, Musk explained during a conference keynote speech Beach in 2017. If you send up tankers and refill in orbit, you could refill the tanks up to the top and get 150 tons of payload to Mars. What is Delta V? A spacecraft Delta V is typically like the range of a car. Its astrodynamics in aerospace, a Delta V budget is an estimate of the total change in velocity required for a space mission. It is calculated as the sum of the delta V required to perform each propulsive maneuver needed during the mission. As input to the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation, it determines how much propellant is required for a vehicle of given mass and propulsion system. Delta V is a scalar quantity dependent only on the desired trajectory and not on the mass of the space vehicle. For example, although more fuel is needed to transfer a heavier communication satellite from low Earth orbit to geosynchronous orbit than for a lighter one, the delta V required is the same. Also, delta V is additive, as contrasted to rocket burn time, the latter having greater effect later in the mission when more fuel has been used up. A key goal in designing space mission trajectories is to minimize the required delta V to reduce the size and expense of the rocket that would be needed to successfully deliver any particular payload to its destination. The key for any rocket to go very fast is to have very low dry mass, and this is why all Starship launches that have flown have only 2 stages to escape Earth's gravity. We could take advantage of the Starship's generous field capability and stack another smaller stage on top for extremely high energy missions. The Starship would then become the middle stage and won't actually reach orbit due to the heavy mass of the 3rd stage. Instead, this 3rd stage would now perform an insertion into the parking orbit and then an upper burn to put the Starship on its way. Such an upper stage, along with the Starship Super Heavy, would be able to bring relatively large payloads to anywhere in the solar system within a single launch. Furthermore, if you launch with an empty 3rd stage in order to get both 2nd and 1st stage into orbit and refill the stack a few times, it would be able to bring a good ton of 150 tons of payload way beyond Pluto, even to escape velocities out of our solar system. The only catch is that you can't take Starship with you once the kick stage has been separated. What will Starship be used for? The uncrewed or cargo version of Starship features a payload bay that opens up like the mouth of a crocodile. This would allow it to be used for launching satellites. SpaceX says the huge payload capacity opens up possibilities for new types of robotic science missions, including telescopes larger than the James Webb Observatory, the forthcoming successor to Hubble. The system could also be used for space tourism and even for high-speed journeys between the different destinations on Earth. Musk says that Starship could eventually carry people to its destination in the greater solar system, including gas giants such as Jupiter, but this remains a long-term objective. What if we weren't limited by chemical properties? What if the Starship used a more efficient type of engine like nuclear thermal engines? How would that work? Let us know what you think in the comment section below.
Did you know that Tesla cars can protect you from viruses and bacteria that are present in the air and can play Despacito when you honk the horn? Tesla has been cooking up some of the craziest innovations in the lab, so strap in your seatbelts and prepare to blast off. In this video, we'll be talking about something that everyone has been itching to see, the Tesla that costs less than $20,000. Be sure to watch to the end, as we'll share something that most Tesla employees don't even know about. Tesla's mission. Since the founding of Tesla, their main focus has been to provide the automotive industry with a low-cost electric vehicle that is very affordable. Right now, the most affordable Tesla in the market is the Model 3, with a starting price of $39,200 for the base trim, a figure that you can't exactly call affordable. However, the way Tesla has been manufacturing and pricing their cars is all part of their master plan. Tesla's master plan sounds just like a modern Robin Hood story. You will get the Robin Hood part when you see how it works. The first stage of the plan was to create a low-volume but expensive car, which was the Tesla Roadster. It was so successful that Elon even sent one to space. The second stage of the master plan was to use the proceeds from the Tesla Roadster to facilitate the production of a medium-volume car that would be sold at a lower price, the Tesla Model S, X, and Y. The next stage in the master plan was to use the money gathered from the second stage of the plan to fund the production of a high-volume car that will come at an affordable price. Tesla accomplished this and gave us the Model 3, but it seems that Tesla is not done yet. Yes, rumor has it that Tesla might be bringing a fully electric hot hatchback to the EV market at a very affordable price. These rumors are turning out to be true as Tesla's Gigafactory in Shanghai ramps up production to bring a new car to life by 2022, the Tesla Model 2. It's game over for gas-powered vehicles and the competition if Tesla can make the Tesla Model 2 happen. Not only would you be able to drive a Tesla for less than the price of a Toyota Camry, but you also would never have to pay for gas. The Tesla Model 2. There isn't much information about the Tesla Model 2, but Elon Musk has confirmed that Tesla is working on something of the sort. One thing we do know is that due to the diminutive size of hatchbacks, Tesla would be working on a new battery design as its present battery design would be too large for a normal hatchback. Tesla's new battery design would be 35% smaller than its original battery pack design, have 6 times more power, 5 times more energy, and 16% more range per kilowatt. This new improvement in the battery pack means that in the overall scheme of things, we would have a lighter car with a good amount of range, and at the very least, nothing less than 250 miles since the Tesla 3 has a range of over 260 miles. The Model 2 will likely have 2 different drivetrains. A 2-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive, like we have in the Model 3, but that piece of information isn't confirmed yet. Now to the fun part. I bet you are itching to know just how fast this beast can pull away from the stoplight. Due to how electric motors deliver instant torque, Tesla has been able to engineer its cars to accelerate at a blistering speed. According to sources and speculations, the Model 2 might have 200 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, which isn't the fastest car on the planet, but with a 0 to 60 mph runtime of 6 to 7 seconds, it does well enough for a compact daily driver. Tesla has not exactly revealed what body style the Model 2 will feature, but we hope it will be something unlike what we have ever seen before, so it doesn't undermine the existence of other Tesla models. However, the interior of the Model 2 will be designed like every other Tesla interior with a few adjustments and made available in the usual white and black trims. Now, what feature will the Model 2 have that will set it apart from every other electric hatchback out there? Autonomous driving. Yes, Elon Musk has confirmed that fully autonomous driving will come to the Model 2, but you might have to pay to have the package enabled. For an estimated extra price of $10,000, the Model 2 will be equipped with the fully autonomous option, a highly coveted feature. However, the cheapest EV hatchback on the market right now carries a price tag of almost $30,000, and Tesla might be offering a more technologically advanced hatchback EV for less than $20,000. How is this even possible? There's only one answer. Elon Musk is a wizard. If the stars aligned and things go as planned, some unlucky people might be able to buy the all-new Tesla Model 2 for as low as $18,000. This is a result of the Green Act that President Biden's administration is proposing. This act, when passed, will triple the tax credit cap for electric vehicles, which will bring down the price of a car. This tax cap will be offered on 600,000 vehicles instead of the former cap that covered just 200,000. Tesla doesn't qualify for the current tax cap anymore, but if the Green Act is passed into law, Tesla might have 400,000 more vehicles that will be eligible for the new tax cap. When the Model 2 enters the market, it would revolutionize how many people look at the EV market. The pricing is also ideal when you think of how much you would save on future maintenance costs and the price of fuel. This might be the turning point where other car manufacturers make the switch from combustion engines to electric motors. So, when should we expect the Tesla Model 2? The timeline for the launch of the Model 2 is still sketchy. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, Tesla, along with other manufacturers, is facing a shortage of materials that are vital to the production of electric vehicles. However, in early 2020, Tesla made an advertisement for design staff at its Shanghai facility using a hatch-like sketch. This fact, combined with more reports, points towards the launch of the Model 2 probably in late 2021. Tesla is not well known for accurate compliance with the timeline when it comes to launch and production dates for their cars. The latest whispers out there about the Tesla 2 has come from a Chinese Tesla insider who broke credible news about Tesla in the past. The report is that we might get to drive the Model 2 sooner than we thought, as a prototype has already been completed with component suppliers already lined up. If this rumor turns out to be true, trial production might commence in the latter part of 2021. If you also want the latest scoop on Tesla like the Chinese Tesla insider, be sure to subscribe. However, the production of the Cybertruck might come before the Model 2, so we might not get to drive the Model 2 till 2023. By that time, Level 5 autonomy would start to happen, making the Model 2 the perfect car for robotaxis. So now that you know all about the Model 2, will you be waiting anxiously to pre-order, or be waiting till it hits dealerships? Once again, SpaceX surprises the world with another mastermind operation. On July 16th, they expanded their team and technological supremacy by acquiring a startup satellite data company, Swarm Technologies. This is the latest in a string of wins recorded against Blue Origin, the space company started by Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Strap in your seatbelts and prepare to blast off as we take a look at the utter destruction of Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. A quick look at Blue Origin's background. Jeff Bezos is no stranger in the world of space exploration. His ambitions go far back, maybe even before Elon Musk and Richard Branson. As early as the 90s, he was involved in space enthusiast circles and was once the chapter president of the Students for the Exploration. Blue Origin was founded in 2000, 2 years before SpaceX and 17 years before Richard Branson's Virgin Orbit. But years later, Blue Origin seems to be dragging its feet compared to SpaceX, a company that keeps surprising us at every turn in characteristic Musk fashion. Virgin Orbit has also made spectacular progress with Richard Branson, launching a 50-mile trip to space a week before Jeff Bezos' trip on the 20th of July 2021. Blue Origin's journey. To say that for decades Jeff Bezos has been a high achiever would be an understatement. The man owns Amazon, the biggest online store in history, and he has also bought the Washington Post in 2013 for a cool $250 million. With Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos started with a blast, and the company has some pretty big achievements under its belt. With the launching of New Shepard, the company succeeded in completing the first vertical landing of a rocket that had gone to space. Even better, the boosters were reusable. Unfortunately, until the spaceflight mission in July, Blue Origin had made no mentionable progress. His flight to suborbital space and zero gravity was meant to be a statement that his rockets were safe for passenger flights. But even on that front, he will have to compete with Richard Branson's Virgin Orbit. Now compare that with the progress of SpaceX, a company no one can argue is ahead of the pack. Musk's company has made more than 130 missions, with most of them exploring outer space, and they seem to have perfected spaceflight with their reusable rocket Falcon 9. They were also behind the successful 2-crew mission to the International Space Station last year, followed by 2 other missions this year, one to deliver 4 astronauts to the ISS, and another to deliver supplies. Rocket Lab, a lesser-known company owned by Peter Beck, is also beginning to eclipse Blue Origin. It is 6 years younger than Blue Origin, but its rocket named Electron is showing much promise. This company seems to be on a mission to rival Elon Musk big time. It now boasts over 18 missions that launch satellites into space. This August, Rocket Lab has announced it will do 3 satellite launches for Black Sky, an Earth observation company. This is the biggest step for the space company to date. In this mission, Black Sky hopes to get real-time data by getting multiple images within 24 hours rather than one image at a time. And it doesn't end there. Rocket Lab has its eyes set for the moon in 2021 and is hoping to have its own probe in Venus in a few years. For now, Blue Origin is just focusing on cementing its place in suborbital tourism. Bezos auctioned one of the seats in their first crewed mission to space, which shows that his missions will be a reserve for the rich. He may have donated the money to charity via appointed celebs, but his actions have been met with criticism from many quarters. As he plans other million-dollar missions this year, we will see even more thrill seekers with deep pockets visiting zero gravity and basking in the glory of weightlessness for just a few minutes. This is all while other companies set their goals to the moon and beyond. Blue Origin's delays. The recent 11-minute trip by Jeff Bezos and 3 others was supposed to happen as early as 2017. However, that never happened until 2021, and in 2020, the company's plans seem to have taken a step back following the pandemic. But this delay is one among many. The 2-stage New Glenn is another perfect example of a grand project that seems to take a step back every year. In 2017, when Bob Smith was appointed CEO of Blue Origin, the expected launch date for the reusable rocket was 2020. Smith, who had considerable experience from Honeywell Aerospace, concluded that the announcement was rushed and the date unreasonable. At a meeting, he said that this would be a 2022 program at best. Bezos, who wasn't at the meeting, later announced that any delays won't be accepted and the set timeline will remain unchanged. Of course, Smith has been vindicated, as New Glenn didn't launch in 2020 and neither will it in 2021. In fact, it was announced that the earliest launch will be in the last months of 2022, but its failure to launch isn't the worst part, because as we all know, rocket engineering is, well, rocket engineering. The worst part is that Blue Origin tried to blame this on the US Department of Defense, one of their potential customers. If it had happened as planned, New Glenn would have been a groundbreaking project. It is set to offer amazing payload services to Earth's orbit, the geostationary space, and even the moon. But if former employees are right, we won't be seeing the New Glenn soon. First, it has been reported that the New Glenn is copying the engineering of SpaceX's Super Heavy on some aspects. Though these rumors appear to be false, observers say New Glenn is experiencing delays because Bezos is in a rush. Also, New Glenn wasn't meant to be such a colossal rocket and was initially meant to just be a step above New Shepard. Bezos, however, decided to go big with a 313-foot tall rocket. A former employee compares this to if NASA had gone straight from Alan Shepard to Saturn V rocket. The rocket is expensive to make and will force the company to try and make a profit fast once it's done. There are also technical difficulties facing smart engineers at Blue Origin. First, the rocket should be reusable, but the bigger challenge is that New Glenn needs nearly 4 million pounds of thrust compared to New Shepard's 110,000. Blue Origin versus SpaceX. Project Artemis was awarded to SpaceX, and they will design the moon lander meant to revive astronauts' glory days of moon exploration. This latest contest for NASA's lunar contract isn't the first tussle between these two companies. Blue Origin also challenged SpaceX's exclusive right for the launch pad LC-39A. It lost, and instead had to use launchpad SLC-36. On top of that, there have been wars to become the media darling and some tongue-in-cheek comments on Twitter from both CEOs. But what will the response be to SpaceX's newest edition of Swarm and its 120 Space B satellites in orbit? This acquisition may change the course of Starlink, which aims to provide high-speed internet world over. We are yet to see how they will combine Starlink satellites and the Space Bees, which operate in a different way. Bezos, on the other hand, is not eager to link his similar project to Blue Origin. Project Kipper is Amazon's project that follows the footsteps of Starlink. With it, Amazon plans to provide cheaper broadband services to communities across the globe. And for this project, Amazon will work with United Launch Alliance utilizing their 5 rockets for the propulsion. The biggest question is, why is Project Kipper not relying on Blue Origin's rockets to launch its satellites? Maybe the certification process or legal complications may take longer and leave them behind in yet another race. Or maybe they aren't confident in Amazon's sister company for the launches. This August, SpaceX has also given us a sneak preview of its Starship, the spectacular, fully stacked launcher towers above 400 feet, contrasting the tidal flats of South Texas. It is the newest win for SpaceX in what seems to be a one-sided race of late. So, is Blue Origin just a company meant to justify the musings of a billionaire? Will it change its reputation of postponed launches and near wins now that Bezos has committed his future there? Let us know your thoughts on the future of the competition with SpaceX in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe. Elon Musk's vision and diligence have taken his space exploration company further than any other. The ultimate goal is to colonize Mars, but there are so many hurdles that need to be crossed. Can Elon Musk pull it off? Stay with us till the end as we will uncover SpaceX's disastrous problem with Mars exploration. The problem. Now, as we said before, the problem that SpaceX is dealing with is probably not one that you'd guess. What could it be? Not having enough funding for rockets? Are the spacesuits malfunctioning? An alien invasion? Nope, it turns out that Musk's problem is much simpler than that. Food. That's right, folks, as it turns out, growing food on Mars is hard. The atmosphere is very different from the one we have here on Earth. The soil is practically poisonous, and because the gravitational pull is different, it's harder for plants to get water. Now, let's dive into each of these problems one by one and see how SpaceX can potentially work around them. Number 1. The soil. If you've seen the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, or at least seen that one clip of it, then you already know that the soil on Mars is very different from the one we have here on Earth. For starters, it's an entirely different color, sitting at a rusty red instead of a deep brown, and it also contains no organic materials. I can already hear the white moms of LA screaming from here. Mars soil is so different that scientists don't even call it soil. They have a completely different term for it. Regolith. Regolith is the closest thing we can get on Earth that behaves almost exactly like the soil found on the surface of Mars, and scientists tried to grow crops on it. The results were a mixed bag. While scientists could grow vegetables like arugula, radish, and leeks, spinach crops withered away and died. Sorry, Popeye fans, it looks like Mars is not the place for you. Scientists also found another challenge while working on the soil. Plants could only grow indoors. So, if we are to get people out to Mars, we can't just dig lines in the dirt and plant seeds. We'd have to build a massive greenhouse with enough space to grow crops and feed everyone on Mars. This would be a massive engineering feat that would take a great deal of research, time, energy, and most importantly, money. But if you know Elon Musk, then you know that last one isn't an issue. While growing food on Mars is possible, the logistics look bleak, and it will take a long time for humans to figure out how to do it as well. Problem number 2, the atmosphere. If you don't already know, the atmosphere on Mars is quite different from the one we have on Earth. To begin with, it's 1/90th as dense as the atmosphere on Earth, and at max sunlight, there's only 43% as much as we get here on Earth. This could also present a difficulty for growing crops and keeping up morale, since human beings need to be exposed to sunlight to feel happy and alive. This could also pose a problem for the space mission, since the atmosphere on Mars cannot be changed, at least not today. SpaceX's team of engineers would have to develop some sort of workaround to fix this problem. One possible solution would be to have massive solar lamps all around the colony. This could fix the sunlight problem and also provide a better and faster way of selling plants. However, this still leaves the issue of the atmosphere's density. SpaceX's engineers would have to come up with some pressurized chamber that could recreate the conditions of Earth to make Mars more livable. Problem number 3, the lack of water. Now, if you're confused by this, we don't blame you. There's a lot of scientific debate about whether there's water on Mars or not. Some scientists have argued that there could be water deep underground, but most experts agree that it is unlikely. Regardless, having no water on Mars is a big issue, not just because plants need water to survive, but humans do too. This is another problem that SpaceX will need to solve if they want their mission to Mars to be successful. One potential solution would be to have shuttles take water up to Mars continuously so that humans can have a reliable supply. However, since a single trip to Mars takes from 6 to 9 months, the shuttles would have to bring in that much water to survive. How much water would that be? Well, on average, an adult human being needs 3 to 7 liters of water a day to survive, not to live comfortably, survive. If we do the math, each shuttle would have to carry roughly 1,032 liters of water, equivalent to about 32,906 bottles. That's almost as many as I have in my room right now. Now, of course, the water wouldn't have to be carried in water bottles. SpaceX could easily design containers that could hold the amount of water necessary while still fitting in the space shuttles. Is there any hope? Of course there is. While going to Mars is challenging, it's certainly not impossible. After multiple studies, humans have found that multi-wave LED lights can create the same light that the sun produces for plants to grow. Some studies have also attempted to use potting soil instead of the Mars equivalent to see what works. Studies with potted soil have found that it's much better for growing plants, and it tends to yield better results. While some vegetable favorites like tomatoes and carrots won't be available in the future Mars colony, onions will grow. So you may be able to have onion rings at the first McDonald's on Mars. Now, what did you think? Is a mission to Mars realistic or impossible? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe.
China's theft of SpaceX headliner ideas has brought them to the spotlight again, and this could change the dynamics of the space race in the nearest future. Wild, right? China's theft of Western technology is hardly breaking news, given how China is already famous for copies of iconic Western products. But today, we will be looking into China's recent progress in space tech due to production of close replicas of SpaceX front-runner programs. This huge move could soon propel China to the forefront in space exploration. You don't think so? Make sure to watch till the end of this video, as we will be explaining why. Quick refresh on the success of the SpaceX program. Before going into why anyone would want to copy SpaceX, it should briefly be pointed out why they're successful enough to warrant being copied. Before proceeding, we can't really talk about SpaceX without discussing the genius behind it. Musk, as they are so intertwined. Elon Musk founded SpaceX in 2002 with the then bizarre-sounding idea to get humans back into space with reusable rockets, then eventually return us to the moon before making a trip to Mars with the possibility of even colonizing the red planet. Its purpose was to revolutionize the cost of space travel in order to make humans a multi-planetary species by colonizing Mars with at least 1 million people over the next century. On the 24th of March 2006, they launched their first rocket called Falcon 1. Now in 2021, with the fact that SpaceX has made incredible progress in rocket technology, it seems a lot more possible we could soon have a base on the moon and even get to Mars in the next decade. Testament to this is that the SpaceX has carried out spaceflight with the Falcon 9 series over 100 times now. Wow! Unsurprisingly, SpaceX has been at the forefront of cutting-edge technology with its reusable super heavy rockets that land themselves after assisting starships with getting into orbit. Launching thousands of satellites into orbit as well for the worldwide internet idea Starlink, which as at January 2020 became the largest satellite constellation in the world. It has basically taken over from NASA in America when it comes to the actual production and launch of rockets. The SpaceX has had incredible success, and other people and countries have taken note. Countries like China. Overview on China's ambitious space program. We will do well also to give you a brief overview of China's space ambition. About half a century after China inaugurated its first space station, China's space program has taken off from just a handful of scientists launching a satellite from the Gobi Desert to become an important source of prestige for the country. China's current projection aims at completing their space station next year, after it has carried out a series of additional launches to add scientific laboratory modules, crew and cargo. It'll make way for crewed missions that aim to take Chinese astronauts to the moon sometime after 2030. It boasts of a commercial space industry of more than 150 companies vying to build satellites and launch rockets to meet ever-increasing demand for extraterrestrial infrastructure and services. The space station is only just the latest in a series of neck-breaking undertakings by the Chinese government. In 2018, the country for the first time launched more vessels into orbit than any other nation. In 2019, China became the first country to land on the far side of the moon. And in June last year, it completed the Beidou satellite constellation, a rival to the US Global Positioning System. More recent is the Chinese Zhurong, which became only the second country after the US to land a rover on Mars in May 14, 2021. Incredibly, China only seats second to the US in respect to the number of operational satellites in orbit, with the number pegged at 363 as of March 31, 2020. These capabilities has been a cause for concern to the US in recent times. This is largely due to Beijing's recurrent investment in space weapons. Its Pentagon had recently warned of China's development in fielding ground and space-based anti-satellite, directed energy, and electronic warfare capabilities. At a recently concluded online seminar, a former administration of NASA, Daniel Goldin, warned that if members of the global space race do not start making some changes, China could soon become the world's leader in space exploration. His assessment is not by any means far off. China has fielded sophisticated on-orbit capabilities, such as satellites with robotic arm technology for inspection and repair, which when assessed could also function as a weapon. It's also working on radio frequency jamming technologies, capable of degrading or denying satellite communications and global navigation satellite systems like GPS. Overwhelming, right? What China's theft of SpaceX ideas? It's interesting to note that from 2011 to 2013 alone, 13 successful hacks in NASA computers was carried out by China. So, there's little doubt of regime's capability to steal tech and intellectual property from private US space contractors such as Elon Musk's SpaceX. A recent case of China's theft on SpaceX was brought to light when the CALT, or China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, China's state-owned rocket manufacturer, recently released a video showcasing a new rocket that appears to be a near-carbon copy of SpaceX's Starship rocket. The recently unveiled suborbital Earth-to-Earth rocket looks a bit closely copied, as the design, mission concept, and idea all resemble the SpaceX Starship. While this news is concerning, it shouldn't come as much of a shock. It has been obvious that SpaceX has been one of China's prime targets. The apparent copy of Starship is hardly the first time that SpaceX has seemingly been the subject of China's theft. Musk has previously claimed that China stole software from his car company Tesla, which is a problem since SpaceX also uses the same software. As one of the leading members of the global space race, China has long shared many ambitious plans that has clearly aimed to at least match other nations foot to foot. Now though, in a rather bemusing turn of things, China appears to have taken to matching space achievements by Western nations a bit too personally. The result was a presentation that recently showed a suborbital Earth-to-Earth rocket, and while many are working on the concept, China won the distinction of designing a rocket that looks inch for inch similar to a SpaceX Starship render from 4 years ago. In the presentation by the China Academy of Launch Vehicle Technology, or CALT, at the recent Chinese National Space Day in the city of Nanjing, a concept video showed a vertical liftoff rocket that literally looked exactly the way Elon Musk's headlining SpaceX Starship did. From the shiny stainless steel exterior to seamlessly separating first and second stages, to even the general purpose that China most likely claims to have come up with all by itself. In 2017, SpaceX had shown a concept video demonstrating how its Starship could be used in suborbital flight for travel from anywhere to anywhere on Earth in less than an hour. The company had claimed travel time of New York to Shanghai in 39 minutes, reaching speeds that even the peak era of hypersonic flight travel could never make possible. However, SpaceX has since focused on its affordable spaceflight ideas by almost perfecting the catching of its first stage rocket booster in the middle of the sea, as well as a more advanced cockpit experience aboard the Crew Dragon, among other things. As for China, the state-sponsored CALT reportedly aims to use its Starship ripoff to deliver cargo around the world by 2035 and take passengers aboard by 2045. In the near future, China seemingly also aims to rip off the SpaceX Falcon Heavy, which is now expected to come in a heavy payload lifter model called the Long March 9. This booster, it turns out, also looks similar to the design of SpaceX's Super Heavy booster, which will serve as the first stage of Starship. Wild! In all, China has never shied away from importing ideas of Western technologies and other to further their national interest. The SpaceX is ultimately one among many of such technologies, and considering the more recent booster project, it likely is not the last. So folks, you just heard on China's steal of SpaceX's genius idea. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more awesome tech content. Thanks!
If you haven't got the word already, we're bringing you some fascinating tech news. Elon Musk has just unveiled his new Tesla robot that will do everything that humans can do and even some things humans can't. By this point, you probably already have 1,000 questions. How does this robot work? When will it come out? Can it enslave the human race? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about all of that and much more as we give you the inside scoop on Elon Musk's most incredible creation. What is Tesla Robot, and what can it do? This is an excellent question to start with. Just what is the Tesla Bot? Well, for starters, the Tesla Bot is a 5-foot-tall human-like robot that can perform menial tasks that humans don't want to do. In the words of Elon Musk, the question is, what is the job that humans least want to do? If you've ever worked in the food industry or retail, you can probably come up with quite a few just off the top of your head. The idea behind this robot is to eliminate these kinds of menial and often dangerous jobs so that humans can be happier, safer, and healthier. But when did this come out? Well, Optimus was unveiled at Tesla's AI Day, an event held both in person and online to attract machine learning talent to come work for Tesla and investors and other curious minds. Can you imagine working for the man himself on technology that could change the course of human history? What a trip! Anyways, Elon Musk unveiled the robot and gave a quick rundown of its technological features. Musk specified that the robot has a camera built into the front of its head to pick out important information from its environment. Some people speculate that this visual sensor could be used for anything, from picking people's temperature, to gauging their moods, to even learning their names and interests. Speaking of interests, Elon Musk has also revealed some of the purposes of the bot. Its main goal would be to replace factory workers who perform tedious tasks under dangerous conditions. But it could be used for much more, which leads us right into our next big question. Well, the answer varies depending on who you ask. Elon Musk ratified during his presentation that the main focus of the bot would be economical. The Tesla bot is going to start dealing with work that is boring, repetitive, and dangerous. That premise alone already sounds fantastic. Imagine living in a world where people don't have to manage nuclear plants or clean out sewage tunnels or unclog toilets. By eliminating these jobs, humans could have more incentive to learn new skills and have a bigger opportunity to be creative. Think of how many people right now could be excellent writers, photographers, dancers, or film directors if they didn't have to spend 8 to 12 hours of their lives taking out the trash at Applebee's. Although this concept may already seem impressive enough, there's another thing these robots could be used for: human connection. AI scientists Alex Friedman, who was present during Elon Musk's AI Day, expressed his desire in a recent video to have the robot developed to perform menial tasks and become a friend to humans. In his latest video, the Russian scientist expanded upon this, saying, "As someone who loves robotics, the presentation of a new Tesla bot was fascinating. Of course, for me, the lifelong dream has been to build a robot that becomes a friend and a companion to humans, not just a servant that performs boring and dangerous tasks." Friedman raises a good point here. Eliminating tedious and often dangerous factory work is excellent, but what if we could use these robots for much more than that? If Tesla were to follow this line of thought, they could potentially make a bot that not only replaces assembly line workers and burger flippers forever, but can also help out in homes and at schools. Suppose the robot's emotional cortex is sufficiently developed. In that case, it could perform tasks such as babysitting, cooking, cleaning the house, and helping out kids struggling academically or socially because they have to deal with mental illnesses and conditions. This type of development would mean a massive boost in overall human happiness and well-being. Millions of people deal with mental health issues today, and many of them stem from loneliness or a lack of a support system consisting of friends and family they can trust. Having a friendly robot by their side who can comfort them when they're down could not only improve but also save a lot of people's lives, decreasing the suicide rate by a massive margin. Friedman may also be reading Musk's mind, since he expressed something similar to this during the unveiling of the Tesla bot. Musk said that the robot was intended to be friendly, of course, and navigate through a world of humans. So suppose Musk is already thinking of pursuing this line of emotional support. In that case, this robot could help humanity in profound and vital ways, especially now when mental health issues are becoming more talked about and less stigmatized. Now, all of this stuff about helping the economy and increasing human well-being sounds just awesome, but what if the robot becomes evil? What if it turns against humans? Well, luckily, Elon Musk thought of this too. While the robot can deadlift 150 pounds, which is impressive, it can only run at 5 miles an hour, painfully slow. This implies that humans could very easily outrun it or overcome it if it ever goes rogue. However, the chances of that happening are still minuscule since the robot doesn't have a working brain, at least not one similar to humans. According to Friedman, the Tesla bot runs on neural network architecture and data engine pipeline, allowing the bot to perform menial tasks. Of course, this pipeline is not nearly developed enough for the robot to gain sentience, let alone come up with a plan to take over the human race and successfully execute it. Tesla doesn't even have an army of robots yet, only a concept, making the chances of the robot taking over the planet even smaller. Speaking of small, let's talk about the tiny chips and little gears that make the Tesla bot so utterly insane. Now, this is the part that all of you tech fans have been waiting for. What are the Tesla bot schematics? What kind of processor does it run on? Can it run? Can it fly? Well, we're going to get all into that right now as we go through the schematics released by the Tesla company. As previously mentioned, the robot is 5'8", which means it has an average human height. It also has a screen to gather helpful information at the front, lightweight materials, human-level hands, force feedback sensing, 2-axis feet for balancing, and a whopping 40 electromagnetically actuators. These actuators are what make the Tesla bot work. 12 are located in its arms, 2 on its neck, 2 on its torso, 12 in its hands, and 12 in its legs. This question remains to be answered. Elon Musk said during his presentation that they could have a prototype in a year or so, but this is yet to be determined. Alright, now that we've come to the end of the video, let's hear from you guys. What do you think of the Tesla bot? Do you think it's going to change the world, or are you scared it will turn into a real-life Terminator? Let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on the latest tech news. Child prodigies are a rarity, and most agree Elon Musk is one of them. He is a household name with a mile-long list of achievements from his game developing skills as a kid to Tesla, Neuralink, and SpaceX. But do you know who's been his sidekick? His billionaire brother, Kimbal Musk. In our video today, we uncover what Elon Musk's brother, 48-year-old Kimbal, has been up to. Stick with us to the end as we show you how he's rivaling Elon. You'll be surprised how Kimbal's businesses may help Elon achieve his dream to colonize the red planet, Mars. A little background. Today, Kimbal Musk is a chef, restaurateur, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, but the two brothers and their sister Tosca have come a long way. Kimbal is the younger brother to the 50-year-old Elon Musk. Born in South Africa, their Canadian mother, May Musk, was a model and dietitian, and their father, Errol Musk, owned an engineering practice. Maybe that's where these two got their adventurous side and business acumen. After finishing high school, Kimbal moved to Ontario, Canada to join Elon. As you already know, Elon Musk had already moved to Canada to avoid mandatory military service in South Africa. In Canada, Kimbal enrolled at Queen's University to pursue a degree in business. Kimbal and Elon. Elon is this formidable, all-around gifted guy, right? Turns out there was one area where he wasn't gifted: timekeeping. And Kimbal was the guy tricking him so that he can make it on time. A Twitter user shared part of an extract from the Washington Post that said, "As a kid, Elon Musk had so much trouble being on time, his younger brother developed a trick to make sure Musk didn't miss the bus to school. Kimbal Musk, who currently sits on Tesla's board, would lie to his older brother about the time, telling the future billionaire that the bus would be arriving several minutes ahead of schedule. The slight manipulation ensured Musk wouldn't be left behind." And in a tweet, Elon simply replied, "True." Now, these two are poster boys for entrepreneurship. Kimbal started his first business with college pro painters in 1994, and as you guessed from the name, yeah, they started with a painting company. The same year the brothers started their second company, Zip2. The internet was in its initial buzz, and Zip2 was a virtual city guy that worked with the then new online versions of the Chicago Tribune and the New York Times. 5 years later, in 1999, they sold Zip2 to Compaq for $307 million. After Zip2, Kimbal was an investor in several startup software companies. He was also a major investor in his brother's startup company, X.com. This company was initially meant to mainly focus on financial services, but it's the email payment that appealed to most people. X.com later merged with PayPal, and in 2002, eBay acquired it for $1.5 billion in stocks. Now the two brothers who had once shared one computer and a stuffy office were officially billionaires. Tesla and SpaceX. Kimbal sits as one of the board of directors in his brother's companies, Tesla and SpaceX. Before Tesla did a 5-1 stock split, Kimbal owned about 130,000 shares of the company's stocks. In August 2020, the company hit $2,153 per share, and Kimbal's stake was about $280 million. After the 5-1 split, Kimbal's share grew to 572,000 shares worth about $503 million as of 2021. Kimbal as his own man. It's easy to look at Kimbal as a guy operating in the shadows of his brother Elon. He's not. In 2002, Elon remained in California, and Kimbal moved to New York, enrolling into the French Culinary Institute. In 2004, in partnership with Jen Lewin and Hugo Matheson, Kimbal opened The Kitchen. The Kitchen has been ranked as one of America's top restaurants by Food & Wine, James Beard Foundation, and Zagat's. And apart from its first community bistro in Boulder, Colorado, it has other locations in Denver, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Memphis, and Chicago. Kimbal was also the CEO of One Riot from 2006 to 2011. In 2011, the ad company was bought by Walmart Labs for an unknown price. Like Elon, Kimbal has a passion for preservation, self-sustainability, and our survival for generations to come. Researchers believe that about a third of the world's food supply goes to waste, and who better than a Musk to focus on the solution? Together with Tobias Peggs, he co-founded Square Roots in 2016. It's a company that plans to keep wastage at a minimum by growing food as close as possible to the point of sale or use. The Brooklyn-based company has come up with hydroponic farms and reclaimed shipping containers to produce several non-GMO vegetables 24/7 without pesticides. Square Roots produces spices like mint, parsley, basil, herbs, and leafy vegetables. The farms have automated irrigation and LED lighting systems. And you can set one up in the parking lot of your restaurant or grocery store, in a warehouse or industrial building. According to Tobias Peggs, growing food close by will reduce food damage or spoilage when shipping. He also added that a controlled microclimate is one way to get better flavor and more yield because key factors like humidity or soil acidity can be monitored. Peggs, who holds a doctorate in artificial intelligence, has been Kimbal's business partner for over a decade. In fact, he was also among the co-founders of the mentioned One Riot. Learning gardens. Kimbal's passion for sustainable development and healthy eating is older than Square Roots. He is also a co-founder of Big Green alongside his restaurant partner, Matheson. They founded Big Green to plant school gardens to give kids real-time access to real foods. This dynamic learning gardens are a blend of math, science, and literacy. Through them, the founders hope kids will learn about the environment, food, healthy eating, and lifestyle choices. Founded in 2011, Big Green had 260 learning gardens across the US by 2015. States like Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, and Memphis have been the major beneficiaries, but Kimbal plans to make this a worldwide project. Personal life. By now, you're probably asking yourself, what's it with the cowboy hats? When visiting Austin, Texas, he tried one and loved it. And as he sums up in this tweet, Kimbal Musk, @Kimbal, March 8th, 2019. Everyone looks good in a cowboy hat. Embrace your inner farmer. Put on a cowboy hat and pledge to plant a seed on March 20th. Who's in? Take a pic now through March 20th and tag #PlantASeedDay. I'll share your best pics. Unlike Elon, Kimbal does not have a flair for glitz and glamour. He goes about his business quietly, from girlfriends to innovations. But don't start him talking about food, farming, and tech. He gets quite animated and will go on and on. Currently, he is married to environment activist Christiana Wiley, the daughter of ex-billionaire Sam Wiley. Previously, he was married to Jen Lewin, whom we mentioned as one of his co-founders of The Kitchen. In fact, since she is an artist, it is believed that she designed the interior of the first 3 locations. Together, they have 2 known kids. Kimbal believes a skiing accident he had in 2010 also shaped his outlook on life. He says, "I sort of got a new lease on life. I said I now have every excuse in the world to do what I want. And you know what? I'm going to work on food culture and help food become fun and part of people's lives again. The traditional restaurant is more commercial oriented, but I want community through food." What to expect? Now we get to the most interesting part. What do these billionaire brothers have in store for us? First, Kimbal Musk wants his gardens to fight obesity. He believes childhood obesity is mostly overlooked, but it is better to place a solid foundation from childhood. Second, he hopes through his learning gardens, kids can be encouraged to venture into the less advertised agricultural careers. When asked about Elon, he said he's learned a lot from him. When you think about basketball and you watch someone like Michael Jordan play basketball, even if you're a baseball player, there's still a lot to learn from there. I really think about him more like my brother, to be quite honest. It's kind of a tough question to answer because he's been so core to my life that it's hard to describe specific things.
SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has some ambitious plans to turn humanity into a multi-planetary species. Musk has said that the next logical step for humanity's development in space is a permanent base on the moon and a city on Mars. In 2024, SpaceX aims to send the first humans to Mars, and this would be the very beginning of Elon Musk's goal to start a self-sustaining colony on Mars. To achieve this, SpaceX would need to establish the first Martian base, and over time, the first Martian colony. How would the first astronauts be able to establish a base on Mars? And what laws would they follow? In this video, we are going to look at what it will take to build a self-sustaining city on Mars. Before we proceed, we're doing a huge giveaway for our first 1,000 subscribers, so be sure to subscribe. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. With the aid of a fleet of Starship spacecraft, the intrepid billionaire wants to establish a permanent foothold on Mars, 1 million people strong by 2050. Getting to Mars, I think, is not the fundamental issue, he said during a September virtual Humans to Mars summit. The fundamental issue is building a base, building a city on Mars that is self-sustaining. Musk had previously claimed that with the help of 1,000 Starship spacecraft and massive rockets that will be capable of carrying to 100 tons of cargo or 100 passengers between the planets, a sustainable Mars city could be established. According to Musk's calculations, about 100 vehicles would each have to carry 100 tons of cargo every 2 years. However, his space company has come a very long way in turning Starship into a reality. Several early prototypes have already taken to the skies, albeit only to a height of roughly 500 feet. In the following weeks, the prototype will attempt to fly to an altitude of 9 miles. Now Musk is publicly fleshing out his vision further. When Musk was asked what life on Mars would look like early on, he responded in a Thursday tweet that it would have the resemblance of life in glass domes at first. He further explained that it will eventually be terraformed to support life, like Earth. Scientists and science fiction authors have long suggested that terraforming could allow humans to breathe on the open Martian surface. But that vision is still a distant dream, far beyond the first Martian bases, according to Musk. However, according to Elon, terraforming would be too slow to be relevant in our lifetime, but he explained that if humanity can achieve and establish a human base in our lifetime, At least a future spacefaring discovering our ruins would also be an impressive achievement, and it would be a great accomplishment that humans got that far. Terraforming Mars is indeed a massive undertaking. An analysis last year concluded that it may require 3,500 nuclear warheads every single day to increase Mars's atmospheric pressure to breathable levels and melt the planet's ice caps to release carbon dioxide, which will then be trapped in the form of greenhouse gases. But there's one big snag with that plan. The ensuing radiation would also turn the surface completely inhabitable. And a 2018 study also concluded that there simply isn't enough trapped carbon dioxide on the red planet to sufficiently raise enough atmospheric pressure to sustain humans on the surface. But those limitations aren't going to stop Musk from going after his dream of establishing permanent presence there. Early settlements might look a little rough around the edges. I want to emphasize this is a very hard and dangerous and difficult thing, he added at the time. Not for the faint at heart, good chance you'll die, and it's going to be tough. Tough going, but it's going to be pretty glorious if it works out. The ambition lies very close to the entrepreneur's heart, or at least his marketing strategy. While Musk does not believe humans will terraform the planet in his lifetime, he said in 2019 that SpaceX's plan would enable humanity to become a multi-planet civilization while that window is open. The company is currently developing the Starship to fulfill their first step in this plan. The fully reusable ship, measuring around 400 feet tall, when paired with the super heavy booster, is designed to send over 150 tons or 100 people to space at once. SpaceX launched a full-size prototype of the ship in August to an altitude of 500 feet and plans to launch even higher over time. Its Raptor engines use liquid nitrogen and methane as fuel as opposed to the kerosene-fueled Merlin engines on the Falcon 9. That means humans can land on Mars, harvest fuel from the planet, and either return home or venture out further. New York-based Air Company released designs in October for such a fueling station. SpaceX confirmed a fuel station would form part of the initial base, with the ships acting as the initial habitats. Musk claimed in October that the first crewed Starship missions to Mars could launch in 2026. From there, the firm plans to expand the base and make it self-sustaining. SpaceX engineer Paul Wooster explained in September 2018 the initial focus would be on establishing life support systems, enabling surface power, developing habitats, and building greenhouses. As the city expands, it could similarly support scientific research projects to the International Space Station. Musk had previously suggested the planet could even host pizzerias. If everything goes according to Musk's ambitious plan, the first Starship will make its way to Mars as soon as 2024. Terraforming would come much later, possibly after releasing carbon dioxide stored inside the planet. In August 2018, Musk shared a 1993 research paper that claimed humans could release the stores, walk around Mars with just a breathing apparatus, and ditch the need for a spacesuit. One of the paper's authors, Mars Society President Robert Zubrin, claimed the soil may hold enough carbon dioxide to create an atmosphere of 300 millibars, comparable to that of Mount Everest. If we don't improve our pace of progress, I'm going to be dead before we go to Mars, the CEO said during the Satellite 2020 conference in Washington back in March. Although Musk may never see his long-term goal come to fruition, the vision does generate excitement around the Starship project and SpaceX's plans to improve rocket technology. However, there are some questionable elements of the plan. Researchers Bruce Jakowski of the University of Colorado Boulder and Christopher S. Edwards of Northern Arizona University found in August 2018 that Mars may only have enough carbon dioxide to create an atmosphere of 15 millibars. Chinese billionaire Jack Ma clashed with Musk in August 2019 over the plans, which could cost up to 1% of global gross domestic product, declaring that Earth needs more heroes. Economics professor Gunter Lang, speaking to Inverse, also suggested the city could struggle to attract rich Earth citizens willing to pay for the trip. But the excitement generated by the long-term proposal could help support the shorter-term goals like establishing a base and supporting scientific discovery. These goals are more likely to see results in Musk's lifetime. SpaceX had also secured a $3 billion contract with NASA to further develop Starship to return humans to the moon by 2024, and a potential Mars landing could be achieved as early as 2024 or 2026, Mr. Musk predicts, in hopes of eventually creating a self-sustaining colony on the red planet by 2050. A line of the company's satellite internet service Starlink user agreement reads, "For services provided on Mars or in transit to Mars via Starship or other colonization spacecraft. The parties recognize Mars as a free planet and that no Earth-based government has authority or sovereignty over Martian activities." While Musk's contracts might not be legally binding, they are likely to start a conversation about how legislators should be going about planning for a Mars constitution. David Anderman, SpaceX's general counsel, has said that he expects SpaceX to impose our legal regime, but that it would be interesting to see how it plays out with terrestrial governments exerting control. The first settlers could face an extreme shortage of resources almost immediately if the systems for mining water and growing food aren't working. Even if they have enough resources, the mental struggle of being so far from home and committing to the Martian lifestyle could drive some settlers over the edge. As soon as Mars settlers start to arrive on Mars, they might establish different zones, countries, or continents, and without any authority policing these different places, the varying level of advancement between civilizations could lead to chaos. These are just a few of the problems and considerations that would need to be addressed if a permanent colony is to be established.